for
Nsem-Pii will honor more, now Nsem so it is. Utie, now share on my YouTube channel.
Be the first to know Nsem-Pii TV.
Abusuafo say bekai the case between forson Godfrey Yeboah Dame, former Attorney General, and Jakpa. Ekopie mu ewo Supreme Court. Na enka kitikiti jeli forson current finance minister. Na current Attorney General Dr. Akrotinye Ayene eba wa critic case na say any merit ya. Along the line in the proceedings in 2024, close to 2024 elections, Jakpa ebe kansem anakopie mu okọ da kansem say Godfrey Yeboah Dame eka say ontwa ntro bi manefanye evidence na ontimi vanjeli forson samuka iya. Ema Godfrey Yeboah Dame eko challenge in the Supreme Court to say doctored videos, doctored informations. And a Jakpa episode the implicate no was our case no. Many workers say Jakpa any Godfrey Yeboah Dame ado mako boni punimpu mako Clashe the CID Criminal Investigative Department of our country. Ni nya say Jakpa say san semona Godfrey Yeboah Dame de share na no allegedly say on twa nto no fanjeli forson no CID investigating Godfrey Yeboah Dame. Na nsemu ya bede deja Kofi Bentel of Imani any TV3 host adehun komo pa na yenko tie ensenmu encheche mu.
At the national representative of the various law thing we should have, and then. And Mr. Bentel, I was telling you, were acquitted. The state did not consult Richard Jakpa, the now Director of Special Operations at the National Security, going to the Criminal Investigations Department, lodging that complaint or petition against the former Attorney General Godfrey Dame over what he calls misconduct as an AG, because he claims that during that trial, and your lawyer, I know you followed that case, eventually himself and Dr. Kasiel forson were acquitted. The state did not continue with that case. But he feels that whatever transpired before the determination of the court was a misconduct on the part of the then Attorney General, Godfrey Yeboah Dame. And this is coming just 4 months, really, after Mr. Dame was actually dragged to the General Legal Counsel for misconduct. As a lawyer, how do you interpret this? Because the case has already been... the individuals involved have been acquitted. Does it sound like a never-ending case with Richard Jakpa now going to the CID to get Godfrey Dame to be brought to order?
Yeah, I think it is not entirely surprising. You find a situation where the oppressed have become the oppressor or the weak have become the strong. Jakpa is now in power, and those persons that you've mentioned are all in political office or they wield significant political power today. It is very normal that people will use their offices and their powers as they found them to ventilate or prosecute their own agendas. And honestly, it is not wrong per se. What they are doing is following the law to try and assess what they believe must be the right thing. So he's asked for CID to investigate Dr. Dame and all those other things. I think that it is within his right. Where I worry is the potential abuse of state power. Because if you go to the CID, you are going to an institution of state, and you are talking about people who are currently occupying national office, and clearly what they are doing is projecting their power to try and reach somebody who is, in a sense, their adversary. I only worry about the abuse of state power. But to the extent that they are exercising their rights, to ask for investigations, as you and I can, and they are asking for matters to be gone through to ascertain who did wrong or who did right, I really don't have a problem with it. So what we all should watch out for is that there will be no abuses, But if there are no abuses and state authorities do their work, and it turns out that somebody did something wrong, of course, nobody is above the law. So all of that is regular. So I'll simply say, yes, they have a right to go ahead and do what they are doing. In fact, they have other opportunities. I think Mr. Jakpa could have sued simply for malicious prosecution if he wanted. I think they've already gone to the General Legal Counsel. So if they are using this other avenue, to the extent that they don't constitute or they do not engage in an abuse of the powers of the state, I think we can let them go ahead and then let's see how this one is concluded.
But again, I heard you say that perhaps the individuals are now in power and want to pursue their own agenda. I don't know whether you had the opportunity to listen to that phone call between Richard Jakpa when he was then on trial as an agent of Big C and the then Attorney General, and the kind of things that were said on record, which Richard Jakpa has repeated in this petition to the CID. You do not think that perhaps those were grave enough for him to go to the CID to now try to get the former Attorney General to order, asking him to go for an excuse duty from the hospital just so, there could be some time for him to return from outside the country, for them to continue with whatever it is that they were discussing, all of those?
Is that question to me?
Yes.
Right, look, if an issue is raised during a trial is a place where you say, no, it didn't happen. And then you let the person accusing you bring their evidence. If they bring their evidence, you cross-examine them, you counter the evidence, you prove that it was not so. So a trial is the best way, okay, to put out your issues and have it resolved. So as far as I'm concerned, if the thing has gone to trial and he's been able to prove that it was not what the other party or the prosecution says it is, that should settle it. And if you think that it was maliciously done and, to that extent it wasn't right, you can go ahead and then, file for malicious prosecution or whatever other reliefs there are. But I find it a bit strange that you are invoking the powers of the state, in this case the CID, to investigate somebody who was a prosecutor against you. I am not sure why, okay? But again, I'm saying if there is no abuse there, you and I, if we are offended or affected by somebody's actions, we could appeal to the CID and ask for an investigation. So to that extent, I think he has the right and he has to exercise it. But he is a person in significant position right now. And that position is such that he cannot be described as an ordinary person. He is at the helm of an organ of state, okay, which is a law enforcement institution. He has sufficient powers that he can project. And to the extent that he can project them properly, he can also abuse them. So I think there is a bit of circumspection that has to be exercised here. And to the extent that he's exercising the circumspection and that he's not going to abuse his power and become the oppressor, okay, when he thinks that he was oppressed in the past, then we'll be fine. We are in a situation where it looks like we're on a round robin of this one does this, the next person comes and then they, revenge, and then the next time somebody comes and then they revenge. And if we keep doing that, we are going to break this republic. So I would just urge that we do things within the law. And to the extent that we are doing it within the law and we're not abusing the power, let's see how it ends.
So you talk about abuse of power because the person we're dealing with is currently at the helm of affairs. But I want you to listen to the point 9 of the petition to the CID, where he says, in the circumstance, that's like a summary of all that he said in the previous points he made. I pray that the attempt by Godfrey Dame for me to testify in a particular way so as to dishonestly, wickedly, and without an iota of conscience implicate Honorable Dr. Ato Forson, and to also lie to the court by procuring a false excuse duty which constitute a crime, into bracket fabrication of evidence, be investigated and made to face the full consequence if found to be culpable, because this is very necessary, especially when such diabolical and vicious actions an Attorney General can breach the peace of the country and erode the trust that the public has in the esteemed office of the Attorney General of this country. So I'm just reading this to you again, just to get your understanding of when you say that he's pursuing his own agenda. If he says this in that petition, does it sound like somebody who is pursuing an agenda of his own, rather than stating the fact of what might have happened?
Yes, it sounds to me like somebody is pursuing his agenda. Essentially, he's saying that the Attorney General was telling me I should do something which I didn't believe was true. Now, the Attorney General can say he believed it was true, and he believes that you had the evidence and you could speak to it. Now, to the extent that he says, okay, so you go ahead and do it, and you said, no, it is not true, so I will not do it. As far as I'm concerned, that ends the matter. Here, he is suggesting that the Attorney General had an agenda, and he wanted to use him, Jakpa, to prosecute that agenda. But if he wanted to use you and you refuse to be used, I really don't see why there's a further issue there. But again, if there is a further issue there, and this is what he's trying to use to try and bring out that issue, then, well, they should go through the process. But as far as I'm concerned, it sounds to me as if somebody says that, oh, I believe Mr. B stole this item. And I believe you saw it or you were there when he stole the item. And so I am asking you to testify to confirm that my belief is true and that he stole the item. And you simply come and tell me that, no, he did not steal the item. Either I wasn't there, I didn't see it, or what I saw was a different thing. And that should end the matter. And I think that is what has happened in court. The matter is over. But if you now come and you say that, oh, this person was trying to get me to falsely accuse Mr. B of doing this and that and that and that. Well, maybe there's truth to that, and so if that can be investigated and the truth thereof, be put out, then please let them go ahead. But if you are also now coming in to say that because you have power, you are going to cause the institutions of state to bring this other person in, okay, for investigation and prosecution or whatever it is, simply because they asked you to do something which you said wasn't what you saw, I think there's a bit of a problem there. So again, I am clear in my mind it is a projection of power. I hope that it does not lead to an abuse of power. We live to see how this ends.
We live to see how this ends. I want you to hold on just a little bit more for me because I'll come to you for your final word. I just want to get the thought of the panel in the studio here. Madam Ayana, I want to start with you. And perhaps if you have any view on what Mr. Bento just shared with us.
Well, when Mr. Bento talked about people in power using their positions to probably take up certain cases, I just laughed because it just tells me that probably that's what happened in the previous regime. It's just a repetition, and he admitted it, that people are taking revenge, want to take revenge. I think that evidence fabrication is a very serious thing because I then ask myself, how many people are languishing in jail because of fabricated evidence? If a whole Attorney General could do this, then one would ask that maybe we should have a rethink and a relook at all the people who have been jailed during his time. How many of them went to jail because of fabricated evidence? I think that Jakpa has a case because for anyone to want to go to the extent of fabricating evidence to be able to jail another person who is also a political figure, it is not wrong for us to look out for the right. And I'm looking at a situation where the Attorney General felt that maybe this was nothing. I just want a quick fix to this case, and therefore go and lie so that we can fix this case and let somebody go to jail. I think he should answer for that because it is not right for an Attorney General to do that. We all trust him. That's why he was put in that position. But if today, listening to Mr. Bento, it looks like this group are using their power or wanting to abuse their power, I don't think it started from the NDC or from Jakpa. It must have started from the former Attorney General's time when he wanted to abuse his power by wanting to jail somebody illegally. So I'm looking at how things are going to pan out, and I'm hoping that justice will be done, and that if he's found to have done wrong, the law will take its course.
The law will take its course, Madam Obeng.
All right, so Mr. Bento keeps talking about motive, but he needs to understand that motive doesn't disqualify the truth. The truth is what we are all seeking. What Jakpa has done is to seek the truth from the CID. And I think it's in the right direction. It will interest you to know that I had been having discussions with my lawyers to actually take on this case because the office of the Attorney General is a very high office. And so if the legal process can be manipulated with this level of impunity, then are we safe? Is our judiciary safe? And so what he has done is something that sides with me so much. And I think that allegations of this nature need transparent investigations. And it's even in the interest of the former Attorney General because he could be clean. I had issues of he saying that the tape had been doctored, you know. And so if that is the case, allow the investigation to take place. If you are vindicated, it helps your case. How would he live with his conscience knowing that he has to carry this burden when majority of Ghanaians think he is an obstacle to the law? How will he feel? So I think that it's going to help both sides. Jakpa and the people who think he is at fault. And for his case, if he's clean and he comes out after the investigation, it helps him. Mind you, he's a lawyer. If this thing comes out that he's culpable, what then happens? His license will be revoked by the General Legal Counsel. Mm-hmm. And so this is a very serious case. Unless we don't see the seriousness or what Jakpa is trying to achieve. So just like what I said, the truth is what we are all seeking. And motive doesn't disqualify truth. And so whatever the motive is, as Mr. Bento sought to say, whether somebody thinks they are in power or whatever the motive is, we want the truth. And we are seeking for the truth. So that is just it.
I'm coming back to you, Mr. Bento, just asking you one of my last two questions. Madam Ayana talked about evidence fabrication, and you being a lawyer, I'm sure you're much aware about the Criminal Offences Act 1960 Act 29. You looking at Section 213, that of course talks about penalties regarding evidence fabrication, and the fact that those who are found culpable actually could face same penalties as, you know, perjury and other stuff in that proceeding. How do you capture that in your argument, bearing in mind what the panel members have said about the seriousness of this case taken to the CID by Richard Jakpa?
There is a difference when somebody asks, or especially a prosecutor, would ask that somebody testify in a particular direction because they believe that is what happened. It can go as far as plea bargaining, where a prosecutor can even convert a criminal into an asset of the state to testify against their other criminals. So for me, for a prosecutor to ask that somebody who is under prosecution testify against another person with whom they committed a crime is not, for me, evidence fabrication. But somebody else thinks that, oh, this prosecutor was trying to get this person to lie against their colleague. Okay? I mean, I think they are free to think so. Whether it's true or not, none of us can tell. The way somebody absolutely believes that the prosecutor was trying to get this witness to lie against the other witness, that prosecutor also may absolutely believe that that person committed a crime and it is only this witness who can speak to it because they were together with them. My point is that it happened, and in the space of a trial or in the process of a trial, that is the best way to bring out the truth and properly explain it. And I think that has happened. If somebody believes that they were maliciously prosecuted, they should go ahead and do that. But if you are asked to testify to something, if you, Beatrice, tell me that, oh, Mr. Benson, I believe you saw this, and I tell you that I didn't see it, and therefore I didn't go ahead to say it, I really don't see where the problem is. But clearly,